Hello, and welcome back to the Embrace the Mud podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that hits really close to home for me personally, and I suspect it does for many of you too, and that is why some of us struggle so hard with relationships. If you're someone who feels like you have a particularly hard time cultivating healthy relationships in your life, you are not alone, and we're going to be talking about why some of us struggle the way that we do and what we can do about it. So let's dive in. You are listening to the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, and life-giving relationships. Why focus on relationships? Because the quality of our intimate partnerships and close connections influences our health, happiness, and longevity more than anything else in our lives. Relationships matter a lot. So together, let's jump into the mud, aka our messy relationships, pull some weeds, plant some seeds, and create an enriching environment where strong relationships can take root. I am your grateful host, Dara Posner. I am a relational disaster working toward relational mastery. I am also a positive psychology coach, a relational mindset coach, a blogger, and now a podcaster. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships. If you are a fan of this podcast, please subscribe, follow, like, review, and share. Your engagement in this way is crucial to the success of the podcast, and I appreciate you taking just a few seconds to support my mission, which is to help people like you flourish in life and love. All right, so let's get started by acknowledging something really important. And that is that the journey to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships can be challenging for anyone, but they are especially difficult when we carry unhealed childhood trauma or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, into our adult lives. So why does this happen? Well, I think of it like this. Unhealed childhood trauma is a little bit like carrying around a backpack that's filled with heavy rocks. And these rocks are the painful experiences and wounds from the past, and they can weigh us down in our present relationships. One of the biggest challenges that survivors of childhood trauma face is identifying healthy partners. When your early experiences were tainted by dysfunction, neglect, or abuse, it can be tough to recognize what a healthy relationship looks like. You might even be drawn to familiar but unhealthy patterns without even realizing it. This is something that happens on a subconscious level. Another hurdle is trust, both in ourselves and in others. Childhood trauma can shatter our trust in the world and in the people around us. Rebuilding that trust is like rebuilding a bridge that's been washed away by a storm. It takes time and it takes effort. And then there's the roller coaster of emotions. Childhood trauma survivors often struggle to manage their emotions. It feels like riding a roller coaster without knowing when that next drop is coming. And these emotional ups and downs can strain relationships and make it really difficult to connect. Let's not forget the role of self-esteem and self-sabotage. Low self-esteem can often be like there's a whispering of negative messages in your ear at all times. It's making you doubt your worthiness of love and of being in a healthy relationship. And self-sabotage can lead you to push away the very thing that you want, a secure and loving connection. Now, I don't want to make you feel like, you're stuck in the storm now. There is absolutely hope. Rest assured. Healing and transforming your relationship patterns is not only possible, but it's incredibly empowering. The first thing I would encourage you to do is to seek support. Whether that's going to therapy or counseling or joining a support group, it's really important to have the courage to ask for the help that you need. And I acknowledge that some of us have been traumatized in such a way that we really don't trust anyone, even experts. So, it's difficult to enter into a therapeutic relationship sometimes when trust is an issue. And in cases like that, I'm very, very glad that many wonderful experts have written fabulous books. Books like Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker are books I highly, highly recommend for anyone who recognizes that they have unhealed childhood trauma, don't feel comfortable working with anyone or joining a support group, but want to have a constructive approach for helping themselves heal. By doing this, by entering into a relationship with a counselor or an experienced coach like myself, or by taking yourself on a self-guided journey of healing, whatever your pathway, your chosen pathway is, you want to feel like you have someone in your corner that you can turn to shine a light when that path gets dark, because it really, really does. And it's so nice not to feel alone. The next thing you want to do is practice self-compassion. I talk about self-compassion a lot on this podcast, and it's because it's such an essential part of having a healthy relationship with yourself. You always want to treat yourself with the same kindness and gentleness and respect that you would a dear friend. And you want to remind yourself often that healing takes time, and it's okay and inevitable to stumble along the way. You want to reflect on your past experiences, as difficult as that they might be, and you really want to be trying to make the connections between what you went through and how that's influencing you in the present. Oftentimes when we're struggling in our relationships and we're having these recurring experiences over and over again, we start asking questions like, what's wrong with me? But the question that I find to be more helpful is, what happened to me? By looking into our past and acknowledging what we went through and how that has impacted us is a powerful way to start understanding ourselves, validating our own experiences, finding acceptance, and making positive changes in our lives so that we can experience the relationships and the quality of life that we really want. When it comes to relationships, take things slow. It is okay to move at your own pace and to establish boundaries that make you feel safe. And lastly, know that you are deserving of love and healthy relationships. You are not defined by your past, but by the strength and courage that it takes to overcome it. Well, my precious listeners, this brings us to the end of today's episode. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. That's why I really wanted to create this episode today, because it was important for me to make sure that you know that there are many of us out here navigating these same waters. And together, I believe that we can create safe and secure bonds with our romantic partners. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Embrace the Mud podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please hit the subscribe button, leave a review, share this with your friends. Your feedback really means a lot. If you want to stay connected to me, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is @EmbraceTheMud. I would love to connect with you there, and please feel free to send me a message. Until the next time, I invite you to pursue your healing journey if that is something that you know you need. And most of all, please remember that you are wired for love and connection. You are capable of love and connection, and you are worthy of love and connection. I'll see you next time.